Hello and welcome to Novi's Weekly Workflow. I'm Scott Easton. Thanks for joining as always. Today we're going to look at pad design, how it differs from basin to basin, and trying to understand spacing trends as well as how many wells per section that people are drilling. So I'm looking at it really quickly in our well spacing dashboard. And you can see the metric that I'm starting out with is the closest well. This is that traditional spacing metric that will take a well and then it will look at how close the closest well is to it to understand spacing. You can see there's a general trend line lower as we're getting more mature. A lot of people will look at this by formation to try and understand how many wells per section we can fit in. People do it by operator to try and understand how closely operators space versus the others. And then I'm just going to keep it really basic and just up at the sub-basin level. But as we'd expect to see, the Midland here is going to be spaced a lot closer than the Delaware, although we are starting to see those lines converge. We always look at it in the vein of production metrics. So right here, I'm looking at a 30-year EUR for oil. And then on the x-axis, you're seeing the bins for how closely those wells are spaced. And so a lot of people will look at it cross plot as well to try and understand where those individual results are. The other thing that I would say is when we switch this over, we'll go ahead and switch it to what we'd consider like a wells per section. We call it wells in radius. And the wells in radius, all we're doing is we're looking at a well and we're going 2,600 feet to the left, 2,600 feet to the right. So in other words, a square mile, and we're counting up how many wells fall within that cube. You can see really quickly that the Midland has a ton more on average wells in radius as we march through time than say the Delaware. The other thing that I can do is by definition, we try and clean this up a little bit for you. So we subtract out the top 2% and we drop off the bottom 2%. In this case, I'm just going to look at where the big bets are, right? So I'm going to drop out the bottom 75% and just get a sense for where those really big pads are. And so you can see really quickly, it's a lot more sparse in the Delaware. And as I zoom in, I can start to get a picture for where some of these kind of yellow and red pads are. If I were to take a look at any given pad in here, let's say that I'm looking at, let's say this Green Drake, right? It looks like they've got 19 wells per section. I can click on this View and Well Explorer, and up will pop what we'd consider a well card. So this is really helpful to not only see the ins and outs of this particular well, but then I can start to see how they actually completed all of these wells. So this is the pad in question. I can kind of zoom in and out on each one of these maps. I can pick a different subject well, but this is the well that I chose. And then I can start to see how they've gone in. Like for the Wolfcamp A, they kind of have this nice little stagger kind of motif going through here. I can see, 3 wells per section for the XY here. I can see 3 wells per section for the Bone Springs Lime. And then probably most interesting is, just hovering over these single ones. These are where they drilled to hold, right? So you have the first Bone Springs that they came in here in 2022. And then they also did this for the third Bone Springs. So they went in at the same time and they drilled a single well to delineate a bit, to get some information and to hold the acreage. And then they went in and really kind of developed it. And you can see that happened about a year later. So having said that, really appreciate the time today. Join us for our next one. Hope this was informative. Have a great day.